In tonight's in-depth coverage, we are looking into allegations of rampant sexual assaults in Oklahoma's prisons. This comes after Fox 23 received a video showing an Oklahoma prison guard raping a female inmate at the Mabel Bassett Correctional Center. I went to the state capitol today and spoke with a lawmaker who says that video is just one part of a major problem impacting every prison in the state, including men's prisons. Saying there's been an escalation in drug use and sexual assaults among men and women in Oklahoma's prisons. In just the last few weeks, House Criminal Justice and Corrections Chairman J.J. Humphrey says it's time for an outside agency to come and investigate Oklahoma's prisons.
We need to call a state of emergency. We need to investigate. Something should be done. Again, if something does happen, I'm not going to be responsible for allowing that to happen without speaking out and trying to stop it.
For more than an hour Wednesday, Humphrey and his committee say short staffing across the Department of Corrections has allowed things to get far beyond the control of the small staff they do have statewide, and he has requested subpoenas for true guard-to-inmate ratios.
It's serious and it's real, and I'm just here to say I don't talk about it like he does, but it's real. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Humphrey says the roots of the problem began to take hold a few years ago when ODOC cut open correctional officer positions and then redistributed out the cost savings in the form of raises to officers they had still working for them to keep them motivated. Since then, he says, there are far too eyes on what is happening, and the old phrase the inmates are running the asylum has come true.
You know who calls me all the time? Please help us. Please get in here and fix this. Inmates. I never in a million years would have bet that me, Mr. Law Enforcement Officer who used to put more people in jail, would ever get called and asked, please help us do we get 30 to 40 calls a week?
Kate Thompson with the Department of Corrections says the agency did eliminate open positions, but that's because technology has caused some of the jobs to be outdated.
So it's not necessarily, oh yeah, you need to have 30 officers in this unit. Well, now we have technology upgrades, and we're able to do it more effectively and efficiently.
She says the agency is following strict guidelines put in place by the federal government, and Oklahoma has been commended by the Justice Department for its compliance.
We are constantly trying to make sure that people are serving their time in the best way possible, making sure that they're fed and their civil rights are not violated.
She says many claims come in daily to DOC, but some are unfounded or don't have enough evidence to act on immediately. Last week's cell phone video sent to Fox 23 of a guard raping an inmate is evidence that they often don't get. Fox 23 wants to be transparent as to how things played out and why a video sent in to us is now part of a criminal investigation. We learned new details today, and we can now compare our timeline and the Department of Corrections timeline. Last Wednesday, the department began investigating claims of a guard raping an inmate at Mabel Bassett, but the agency only had verbal testimony. The next day, an inmate emailed video of the incident to Fox 23. We turned it over to the Department of Corrections for verification. That same morning, the department asked us to hold off on reporting the video for just a few hours so they could catch and arrest the guard at work. That guard is now identified as Deshaun Dixon and was fired on the spot, arrested for second-degree rape. He bonded out a couple of days later. Now, it's not clear if the rape actually happened last week or if it happened earlier in the month and inmates were unable to email it to us until last week. All of this comes on the heels of a huge days-long hearing last summer about sexual assaults within the Department of Corrections. The same House committee, now calling for an independent investigation into DOC, heard testimony from former inmates, guards, and a doctor about sexual assaults happening at the Eddie Warrior Women's Correctional Center in Taft in Muskogee County, and about a guard saying she was sexually assaulted at the state penitentiary in McAllister.
I don't even let my husband do that to me.
They had them outside the toilet stall, stripped down.
He stated that, yes, he did. They were in love. This was all purely consensual, et cetera, so forth. He was waiting for her.
When it comes to former guards who tried to speak up about inappropriate behavior within the agency, they say the department made their lives a living hell when they tried to apply for jobs elsewhere or get their jobs back after courts ordered them to be reinstated. After that investigation, I spoke with the chief of staff at the Department of Corrections, who says the agency is being smeared for political theater by criminal justice reform groups and their political allies.
In the committee meeting, he kept saying that there was tons of evidence. There wasn't tons of evidence. In fact, I would go as far as saying there was no evidence. It was just hearsay.
Yeah. That's Justin Ferris. He says some of the employees who testified about wrongdoing inside the DOC were punished by the agency through a practice called progressive discipline and did not like that they got in trouble at work and were even terminated. DOC says when laws are broken, they turn over the evidence to local district attorneys, and it is up to them to pursue criminal charges for sexual assaults and any other crimes. Humphrey says today is just the beginning when it comes to his committee, revealing what he says is corruption within the Department of Corrections. We will keep tabs on all sides as this continues to progress.